What happens when two seasoned business leaders get together? They talk shop, of course. Sit back and listen in as Scott DeLong and Vince Moiso share from their experience around current issues facing executives, entrepreneurs, and their leadership teams. The CEO Podcast starts now.
Hey everybody, Vince Moiso here from the CEO Podcast, and I'm here as always with my partner in crime, Scott DeLong, and our special guest, head coach, Dale Lindsey from the University of San Diego. So this is a good one for me. I am an alumnus of the University of San Diego, and I played football here, as most of you know. So I was really excited to be on campus. I mean, you never have to twist my arm to come on campus, Scott. As you know, I'm here often, not to mention my daughter going into her junior year. And I'm on campus specifically today. We're sitting in the coach's office at Torero Stadium, and Dale Lindsey has been the coach for coach for a decade at this point. I think you're going on 9-10 seasons here, or you're in your eighth season maybe. Here's what I'll tell you.
I'm going to tell you it's 10.
So here's what I'm going to tell you, because this is big. I'm just going to throw some statistics out, which are super fun for me. So Coach is 64 and 6 in the PFL. He's got a 75-25 record over his tenure here as head coach at the University of San Diego. More importantly, the program has 12 conference championships, and Coach Lindsey here is responsible for 7 of those, and that's a really, really big deal. So what Coach took as what began as a very, very winning tradition with this program, Coach has taken it to a whole other level, in my opinion. And for me, over the last decade, watching this program, watching the kids that come out of this program, watching the winning tradition that continues to happen, we thought of, Scott and I were talking about it, we thought of this topic around just building a winning team. I mean, just, how do you year in, year out, rinse and repeat, and somehow manage to continue to build
with at least 25% turnover every year.
Yeah.
Right? So in businesses, we don't experience that, except this last year.
Some do, yeah. So I even thought of, like, as we relate it to business, there is a lot of turnover that happens in a lot of business, especially small businesses at times, where, great, well, how do I bring somebody new in? And I've got coaching staff, which you can relate to management. You've got players that you can relate to front line, things like that. So how do we relate this to business? But ultimately, tapping into Coach's experience and the tradition that he's set up here, I think makes for a great discussion as far as I'm concerned. So, Coach, just introduce yourself. Tell us about, in your own words, and then tell us about your experience here at USD. And my understanding, just going into your background a little bit too. So University of San Diego represented your first head coaching job. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the only other place I was the head coach at high school.
So, and you're a defensive guy, if I recall. You were a linebacker in college at Western Kentucky. You spent 8 seasons, I think, with the Cleveland Browns as a linebacker. 9 seasons. And so you're a defensive guy, and I know you've coached at the linebacker position for a number of years. You were a linebacker coach here at one point, right. I think with Carragher, defensive coordinator with Carragher, if I remember. So tell us about your overall experience here, coaching and how long. I mean, at as long as you've been coaching now, you tell me, better
Since
part
1974.
40 years, right? Over 40 years. So you tell us in your own words, what drew you. I mean, you made the transition from player to coach. Not all good players make great coaches. Not all great, salespeople make great managers. Not all frontline people make great managers, and so we have that problem. How'd you make that transition, and how's your experience been leading you up to USD?
Well, first of all, I wasn't a very good player. I was okay.
Not 9 years in the NFL? Okay.
But I was just, they need 11 guys on defense. I was the 11th one. You have to be honest about the situation. the 9 years I spent in Cleveland, we had some really great players. Unfortunately, they were all on offense. Fortunately for us, they were all on offense.
Did you play with Jim Brown?
I like to say I did, but I got to watch him play is basically what I got to do.
Yeah.
Closest I got to him, we had a locker beside each other. And
you didn't have to try to tackle him in practice?
Oh, hell no.
I would stay away from that.
If you were to hit Jim Brown, you got a bus ticket.
I bet.
And it's the only guy I've ever seen had muscle where most people have fat.
Yeah.
And outstanding player. And also had a college degree. A lot of people don't know that. I mean, there was a time I think in the locker room I happened to be in, most everybody had graduated.
Yeah.
That has since become something that I think gets overlooked, which we don't overlook here at USD. If you're coming here to play football only, then we want you to go somewhere else where you'll be happy.
Yeah.
If you come here to get a degree, that's fine. And play football, that's even better.
Yeah.
And we've been very fortunate in finding quality players who value the education, also value their football career. And we're not a football factory. We're not producing 10 players a year for the NFL. We are producing 10 men in the business world who may go out and make a difference somewhere. And we're very proud of them. And occasionally they come back. And we're very happy to see them because they came here for the right reason, which was to get a college degree and go out in the world, maybe make a difference. And we have examples of that from every season we've had here. And we have one back with us this year who was a starting left tackle. Very fierce when he played, very dependable. And he is a San Diego policeman.
Yeah.
And he's taking time out from his shifts. When he doesn't have a shift, he's here to help us. And that's the thing we really like I like bringing back former players to this program because they know what it takes. They know what the school is going to ask them to do. And they know that you have to provide a lot of energy to do both of them. And on top of it, they're here to win. And that's when we're not going to keep score, then we just need to tear a scoreboard down here in the West End.
Well, so that's one of the things that even in the business world we talk about in building teams is getting the right players, getting the right people on that, and that have the same the qualities that you're looking for, have the talent that you need in order to succeed, and have communication skills, being able to work with others, right, and talk with others. So it sounds like very much in line with building a football team, especially at a place that's not a football factory.
Well, and what we've talked about on many podcasts before are values. So, what I heard from Coach and University of San Diego, obviously being here myself and playing football here, I understand the values of this university. I understand the values and the mission of the football program. And I think finding people that match that. That's what I heard from Coach, right? Like he's got guys that are coming to this program that are aligned with those values and are aligned with the mission. And so when you relate that to business, because we've talked so much, almost exhaustively about that, is how important is it that you get people, that you surround yourself with people that are in alignment.
Shared values, common mission, right? Two of the most important factors in building a team. I got a question for you though. Coming from the defensive side of the ball, and now you've got both sides you've got to deal with. No different than what we're dealing with, sales and accounting departments being siloed. Offense and defense siloed. How do you bring them together to become a team, or do you create two separate teams? What's your philosophy?
We're only going to have one group.
Good.
And we do not care for the word I, my, or mine because that's singular pronouns, and we are a group. And nobody is bigger than the group, and that includes me. And that's a constant message that goes out is we are here to do a job together. We play on both sides of the ball, and we wear the same color uniforms. We have one goal. And if we have people who, and that includes coaches or players, who value themselves and their opinion more than others, then we have to say goodbye to you. Yeah. And we don't want to.
Can you talk about how you deal with that? Because that's always an issue when you're trying to turn a group into a team, is the outliers, those that are either the prima donna is one side, and then the other is the social loafer, the person that sits back and lets everyone else carry the bags and do all the work, right?
Yeah.
And neither one are good for a football team either.
No, I never heard the word social loafer, but I think it's a really good term.
Yeah.
If we find you like that, then we say goodbye to you, because we're all about work and getting the job done. And if you're a loafer, you're not getting the job done. And fortunately for us, the players we bring here do not fit that mold. Yeah. They are, and if they're here very long, they have to adapt or leave. And we've had some guys here that I don't think they really knew how much work goes into this program to be a player. And after they're here for a while, they adjust to it. And we ask our older players or the upperclassmen we assign a mentor to all the freshmen.
Nice.
To sort of show them the road and the ropes, because when you first go off to college, you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You know, you think you're doing football, and you really don't, because it gets a little more complicated. And the classroom element is really something that, God, I wish I'd had a senior show me my freshman year, because I dug a hole all the way to hell and had to come out of it academically. And we try to prevent that. I mean, our number one goal here is graduation, and if we went along with it, that's even better. But we assign an upperclassman to a freshman to try to show him the ropes, because you don't know that you don't know.
So is there any process that you take for those upperclassmen to get them ready to be that mentor? Because it just doesn't come naturally for everybody.
Well, they're I wasn't one of them, but there are people who show great maturity at a young age. We have a discussion about who has the best maturity and who would fit that role and who could actually help a freshman, guide him through the two-a-days, which is a little unusual for a lot of people, and also help him along the academic road, which is, at this school, is a pretty steep road to navigate.
So are you, as the coaching staff, making the placement between this senior and that freshman, or is it a natural process? How does that work?
Oh, it's a discussion.
Okay.
We have 10 coaches here, and most everything we do is in a discussion method, because I don't have the best idea. I'm interested only in the best idea. Mm-hmm. The best idea is going to work for all of us, and if it's mine or somebody else's, it doesn't make a damn whose it is, as long as we get what's best for the players.
We'll get you on a leadership podcast next.
That's it.
It's exactly the type of leadership that we talk about.
And what I'm hearing from Coach here is collaboration, right?
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing from him is that the leadership, the coaching staff, here with the program, they're collaborating on decisions like that. And then what's important to Coach, the other thing I'm hearing is that, any young player that's coming in and they're brand new, they're experiencing, especially at that age, right? They're experiencing this for the first time, and they've got to understand the level of work that they've got to put in to the program that's expected, and then somehow you got to find a way to balance that with the education requirements and expectations of this school, with the number one goal that I heard from Coach is being graduation, right? So you got to put them on the path. So we've created this mentorship that happens between senior and freshman. Now, what's interesting to me is we can relate that to the onboarding process with a business, right? And I think I've found, I don't know about you, but I've found with several small businesses that the onboarding process with new people isn't always very good. So I think there's a good lesson in this, is that assigning somebody in particular to somebody new to take them through the process and let them understand.
We do a whole chapter on that. In fact, some of the people that you put in the frontline manager, whole process on onboarding, and it's not 30 days.
Yeah,
I mean it's a process.
It is a process
throughout the year.
It isn't. It's not going to happen in a couple of weeks.
Freshman's not onboarded until he becomes a sophomore.
And admittedly, I think we've got my own business. We've got a lot of improvement that can happen with the onboarding process. We have historically not been great at that. We're much better now, and I think we've got the team that we want. I'm hearing from Coach the importance of bringing somebody along.
So something else I got from, just met you today, but you haven't an aura about you of humility, as opposed to a lot of football coaches that don't, head coaches that don't. Command and control style still is prevalent. Has that changed? I'm assuming this is your personality, but has that coaching style changed since you were a player? From this command and control Lombardi style to more of your approach now?
I don't think so. I mean, I played for a man who was very soft-spoken, sort of was one of the crew. He didn't really have to stand out. He didn't have to be, it wasn't anything about I, my, or mine. It was all about us. I've been exposed to a lot of different coaches over the years. The ones I would model myself after would be the ones who are very low-key to a certain degree, do not have an ego. They realize it's all of us together working it. I worked for Dick Duran, who I'd been a coach with before, much the same way. And he did know everything. He just didn't act like he knew everything.
But you played under coaches that weren't like that as well.
Well, I played for Blanton Collier, who was
Yeah.
a very low-key Southern gentleman, never cursed. I don't know how the hell he did that, but was more of a teacher, a scholar. Wasn't yelling, screaming. We didn't do anything like that at Cleveland. And I've been known to raise my voice if I don't like something. And particularly if you have to do it the second or third time, you're not reaching somebody. You have to figure out how to reach some of these people. And every kid is different. And one of the places I worked, we had a psychologist who said, there's a button on everybody. You have to find that button to push. And I think that's part of the deal of observing, is seeing how people react, what they're going to do, and which button are you going to push.
Yeah. I think there's two buttons on every individual. The one you want to push and the one that you might want to stay away from.
Yeah, and I didn't really care for somebody yelling and screaming at me. That wasn't how you're going to get me to react.
Yeah, I don't
talk to me and tell me. I would do a lot better than yelling and screaming. Every now and then, you need to raise your voice to get somebody's attention.
That's the button.
You also need to lower your voice to get their attention. So everybody has a different button, and part of the deal is watching and see which button you're going to push on these guys.
Yeah.
Very good. So go back to the team concept again, because you talked about finding the right players, the people that are going to fit within the community that you're in, and you've also talked about the mentorship piece, where you use some of the older players to mentor the younger ones, and I'm sure the coaches are mentoring the older players at the same time. What else? What else are you doing to build that team concept?
Well, everything we do is about us, and we try to stay away from, I said earlier, we don't like the singular pronouns. We really don't care for you to come here to benefit yourself. Your actions should benefit all.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, you don't need to be part of our organization. It's 110 players right now, what we have. We get down to 95, 11 coaches, a director of football operations. Everybody's pushing towards one thing. And if you are not in that mode, you're not on that highway, we need to say goodbye to you. And everybody, the other thing I think is important to me, I wanted as a player, is everybody gets treated the same but different.
We talk about that with the difference between equality and equity, right? Yeah. Equality is everybody getting the same thing, and equity being people get what they need. And a similar plane, making sure that...
Well, not everybody's a good player, and I had a history teacher that she knew everybody's IQ. Mine was very low, and she figured if you were working to the maximum of your IQ, that was an A for you.
Yeah.
Good.
If you were an A student and you weren't, there was a C for that person.
Yeah.
So our thing is we have to evaluate what a player has, what he doesn't have. Is he working to his maximum? And you cannot, in my opinion, be harsh or any other way to a player who's giving you his max.
Right.
You should at least compliment him when he does something right. And I don't think you have to say good things all the time. There is a time when the word. My children did not like the word no.
Right.
They still don't.
Oh, well, mine are a fan.
So you have to make corrections, and sometimes it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Do it, and you have to figure out, how do I do that with that certain person? And some guys, yelling is a better thing. Somebody else is a softer voice, and so there's 95 players out there. We have to figure out everybody's psychology.
Well, I immediately go to, I mean, such a great point, Scott. We've talked about this so much on our podcast. We have a dedicated episode specifically around DISC assessment, which is a personality assessment. And what you come to understand is that with everybody has different personalities. Everybody has a different maximum. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm hearing from Coach. And I don't care if you're talking about football, if you're talking about businesses, everybody's going to play or work to their potential. If they're working to their potential, they deserve praise for working toward that potential. Yep. And I think where the false expectation comes in, and I know I lived it for more than a decade as a manager in my previous business, was I was expecting everybody to work at my level. I was expecting everybody to work like me. And that's a lot of the two words that Coach doesn't use with his team, which is my and me. And it was a false expectation. And once I got past that and started to realize that not everybody's going to be the same. Not everybody's going to have the same ability, right? So one person's maximum potential is going to be different than another. And I have to manage that accordingly, which means as a leader or a manager or a coach, in any capacity, you have to be able to adapt to the number of personalities and abilities that you have.
So speaking to that, 110 kids, young men, do you know them all? Or do you have the time as a coach to know them all?
I know their numbers.
Yeah. But your assistants know
I know them with
position?
the uniform on better than I do without the uniform.
Okay.
And, my thing is like, do so well I learn your name. And some of them, they make me learn their name.
All right.
I'm not a person that's good with names. Numbers I'm okay with.
Okay.
Yeah, it works for a program like that, right? I think when you're talking about a small business. Now, if we were to relate that to big business, I would say there's a lot of similarities to that.
Well,
so
any 110 player or
I mean,
business.
You got 1,000 employees.
Sure.
You can ask the CEO of that business, and they're not going to know.
They're not going to know.
They're not going to know. Now, in a small business, obviously, I've only got 30 plus employees that I've got to care for in the U.S. and a handful down in Mexico that are key to the business. But Scott, I don't know if I've shared this with you, but there's at times over 400 employees at the plant in Mexico, and I can tell you the 100% certainty. I don't know.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, and I think that's common. Nonetheless, I know the position, and I know what needs to get done in key positions and key roles. So when I go down there, I can recognize some of these folks that I see on a regular basis, especially guys that have been with the business for a long time. So I do think it's key in a leadership role to know and understand that. And then I want to transition this if I can, because I want to talk a little bit about the topic of delegation, right? So now what you said is you got 11 coaches on your coaching staff. And I think just as much as a CEO can't do everything for the business, a head coach certainly can't do everything that's required for the program to get to the goal he's talking about, which is ultimately winning a championship and graduating the students at the same time. So, Coach, how are you delegating? How much empowerment are you giving your coaches? I heard you talk. You alluded to it before. Sounds like you guys get together all the time for discussion, which tells me you guys are collaborating at a high level. How much further does it go beyond that with your coaches?
Well, we meet quite often, and there's always a topic of who's the best down to who's the worst. And my thing is that why did I hire them if I'm not going to listen to them?
Right.
And why are they here if they aren't capable? We hire people who, number one, in my opinion, I want somebody who's been here. It's even nicer if they've been to USD as an undergraduate, because they know what the trials and tribulations are of being in that position. And we have, I think, the strong suit of this program is the fact that we have 10 people here who actually care about the players that are here.
Yeah.
And you can come up here at any time, walk down this hallway, and you will find a player sitting in a coach's office, and they aren't talking football.
Talking life.
They're talking about life, or
Yeah.
they've had a problem, where they've gone to somebody they think can help them or cares about them. And I think that's got to be one. You got to care about the people that are here. And I feel it's really, we're really lucky in the players that we get. We're also very lucky in the coaches that we have here. And together they do a really good job of collaborating on a season. And I just feel like that without these guys here, I'm the one you should point at when things go wrong.
Yeah.
They're the ones you should point to when things go right.
They use the word several times now that I like, and I'm going to tell you why I like it. So there's a difference between a group and then building a team. And the team has common values, a mission that they're all looking for, a way to communicate, processes that they follow, accountability. The difference between a high-functioning team and a team, that word right there, care. Right?
Care.
These people care for each other.
Yeah.
They have all those qualities that a team has, and then the word care. So I love the fact that you say that.
Well, treat people like people. I mean, treat them like human beings, and you truly care for them. And I think the level of productivity that you get, whether you're talking about a football player or you're talking about somebody working for you, is off the chart. So that person, we were talking about max potential, whatever that level is, you want to get that extra 10%. Just care for that person,
Simple.
right? And show genuine care for that
4
person.
letters. That's it.
So I think when you create an organization, create a culture around something like that, I think the productivity just shoots up. I mean, I look at it. I mean, just from my vantage point, Coach, what I've loved in you going into your 10th season and watching the last 9 years, the thing that I marvel at year in and year out. And I think, you've had some great quarterbacks come through, and there's some good athletes that have come through that have kept that consistency. But I've also seen, coaching staff change because these guys, I think there's no better result of how good an organization is when you can celebrate guys going on to bigger things. I mean, they learned what they learned here, and then they're going on to big things beyond that. So what happens is I've seen the coaching staff change, I've seen OC changes, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, all that. But yet, and you got kids with different talents that come in year out, and you adapt. I've watched you and your coaching staff adapt to the talent that you have. So I've seen the defense adapt, I've seen the offense adapt. It's not the same year in and year out. And I watch it every year. I'm at